now. Just making sure that I don't lose everything. So I do have the chat on. If you guys need anything. So going back to what I was saying. So I'm going to start. My story is I've been writing books since I was a teenager. I've been, I scribbling away in notebooks when I was at boarding academy for ever. And one of the things at the academy that I went to is we weren't allowed to read fiction. And so I would write my own fiction, and then we would sneakily hand it around to the other girls in the dorm because we weren't allowed to read romance because it would, ruin our minds, or whatever dribble they were saying. Anyway, and so I wrote, and that was my first taste of someone else might be interested in my stories. And so that was very interesting to me. Let's fast forward to the 90s when I started, I was working as a costume interpreter at a living history center, and I decided to write a time travel romance because I thought that was fun. And then that was picked up by Kensington House, and I thought, oh, this is the beginning of great things. But it wasn't, because I got a divorce and had another baby, and so life got in the way, and so I didn't continue. I only published 2 books, and then they kind of fizzled out pretty quickly. And I learned, but in the process, I learned a lot about editing and publishing and how all of that works. In the trad sense, I was part of Romance Writers of America. And so just to give you guys a quick brief history, if you don't already know, so just, I pitched my books the traditional way, straight to an editor, face-to-face. And I even did an elevator pitch. That one was the one that actually got me the deal. But anyway, fast forward to 2020, we're all in lockdown, and I decided to, lockdown, I am going to, give me just a minute, bring her in. I'm going to go and follow my dream, and I'm going to go back to writing books and publishing. And so I taught myself everything I could figure out on indie publishing. I got my rights back from Kensington House, and moved forward with my life that way. And then I started coaching other authors on how to do indie publishing. And I found it was quite inspirational for me to help other people do what I wanted to do as well. And so that's kind of where we are now. So about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, I started to embrace the AI trend with writing and things. And it was because I found myself stuck on a book. I could not continue. And it was because it was a book that I had meant to honor someone who died, that I went to high school with. And he died because it wasn't because, he was killed or anything like that. He was retired military. And when he came back from, he had a horrific time in Afghanistan, and watched 15 members of his crew get blown to bits. And so it was really hard for him. And I wanted to honor him with a book. He came back, he was divorced, he had a really rough time. And, so his mental health was not great. And I wanted to give him what he didn't have. So it was my way of honoring him, but I couldn't finish the book. Because it's really hard for me to write it. So I turned to ChatGPT at the time, and that helped me finish what I couldn't finish on my own. And that is where I started. I never thought in a million years that I would use AI to actually draft or do some ghost writing for me. And that is how I consider my AI tools. Claude is he helps with the planning, he helps with the drafting, he helps with the editing, and he's now helping me with the formatting. I tested that this past weekend with some success, so I was kind of excited about that. And most recently, I have tested him quite extensively over the past year or so with the ghostwriting part of it. And I am happy to report that he finally is getting it right. And not without a lot, and I do mean a lot of gates, and keeping him on the straight and narrow is very difficult. But I do have, and that's part of the Ghostwriter tool, which I hope you guys, if you're in the premium, have had a chance to download and use. Ask you a bunch of questions to try and get your voice correct. So we're going to talk about today, due to popular demand and what you guys were asking for, how to make AI sound like you. And with this, I understand. So I know that a lot of you have spent a lot of time and frustration pulling your own hair out, trying to make your AI tools sound the way you want them to sound. And so I want to caveat with saying, when you're talking about making your AI tool sound like you, it's not necessarily you. It's the version of you that you want written. And what I mean by that is, when I'm writing, when it's just me writing and I'm just writing whatever I come out with and whatever flows from my fingertips, I'm more of a suspense author. But I've always wanted to write humor, like Katie McAllister, or and be able to have those laugh out loud moments where the reader just is like, oh my God, I can't believe this is so funny, this is great, and continues reading. I've never been able to write that way. I'm too serious, I think. I have the humor and I love humor, but when it comes to incorporating things, what the books I write, somebody always dies. I can't seem to get away from that. So I'm more of a suspense author, and I'm kind of coming to terms with that, but I wanted to be able to write more rom-com. And so that was kind of my goal, to write paranormal rom-com, because that's one of my favorite genres. I just haven't been able to write it myself. And so if you've read the experiment that I did with Dead Assets, that was an experiment where I wanted to see if we could write in the voice that I was looking for. So when you're talking about making AI sound like you when you're writing and when you're using it as a ghostwriting tool, what you really are saying, and probably what you're thinking in your mind, is, how can I make this tool sound the way I want it to sound, so that it comes back with the ghost written or the written prose that is what I want it to sound like. And if you want it to sound exactly like you, it's never going to sound exactly like you, because you're the only one who can sound exactly like you, because you write it. So whether you decide, for whatever reason in a story, you decide to go off on this tangent instead of on this tangent, which you normally would have gone off on, that's up to you, because you're the voice, you're the one behind it. So with AI, when you're using AI tools to create prose, and when you're using AI tools to write, the way you should rephrase that for yourself is, what is the voice that I'm looking to produce here? And so I have 11 different voices that I use, and they're not all, I call them pen names to Claude. Claude calls them my pen names, but they're not actually my pen names. I only have 4 pen names, maybe 5, 4. I have 4, and I'm looking at starting the 5th one, because that one's going to be the paranormal rom-com, and I've actually started that one. So there's 5 pen names, but the rest of them are just voices. And what I mean by that is, that's the way I want you to write. So I will tell Claude, I want you to write in this voice and this voice, and this is the premise that we're going to use. And he will go, okay, that's a good combination. And so then you get the combination of the funny, and you get the combination of the like, if I wanted to do like a thriller and fantasy, so a thriller fantasy. So I have 2. So I have a fantasy writer, and then I have a thriller writer, and so you combine the both of those, and then you get kind of the voice that you're looking for. And that's where, when I'm talking about different pen name voices, and I've put all of those different skills with all of the different directions that you can go in, like a medieval or Regency romance, or the romantasy, or the clean cowboy, or the contemporary, or the sweet mystery, things like that. So what you want to do is you want to find your unique voice out of all of this. And you want to decide what it is exactly that you want to do. So you want to find the spark that you want to see in the work that your AI tools produce. So one of the biggest frustrations and one of the biggest problems when you start writing with your AI tools is they think about things in sort of a linear fashion. They're sort of their tools. This thing keeps telling me that I know I'm on the call right now. Thank you for reminding me again. Anyway, it's just driving me crazy because it's dinging so much. So it thinks a little more logically than sometimes we do. So it's checklist. So everything is, did we check this box? Did we get this right? Did we get this right? You know, did we have a protagonist? Check. Did we have an antagonist? Check. Do we have a plot? Check. Did we get a trope in there? Check. You know, so it's like a checklist. And the problem with that is we don't always think in that way. We're not like, oh, did we have the heat moment in chapter 3? Check. You know, and so that's why when you're writing out the outlines and everything, Claude is going to put exactly, and he graphs it even exactly where the heat needs to happen, and exactly where they need to meet, and exactly how they need to meet, and what the meet cute needs to be, and whether or not we've got. So if you understand that he thinks that way, and then he's checking off little boxes with everything that he's doing, then you can manipulate him into checking the boxes the way you want them to be checked. So that's why the prose that you get back when you just tell Claude that you want a certain scene, it's just like a little checklist. Did he hit this box? Did he hit this box? Did he hit this box? It doesn't sound like you. It doesn't sound like anybody. It just sounds like somebody was checking off a box to make sure that these things were in that particular chapter. Hey, great. But that's not what you're asking for. So it's basically the loop that you get stuck in, which is basically you prompt him and then you're like, oh man, that's not what I wanted. So you tweak the prompt, you try again, you get something a little different, still not what you wanted it to sound like. And so you go through another round and you're like, oh my God, how can you get this wrong again? Oh my God, why are you foreshadowing right now? She is not supposed to know that he's around the corner. Oh my God. You know, and so you have all of this back and forth. And trust me, I know, because I was also in that loop. So I get it. But at the end of the day, instead of enjoying, you know, writing this story and getting excited about the outcome and excited about the characters and what's going on with them, you're actually frustrated and you've been fighting with this stupid robot for the last 2 hours trying to get this chapter right. And now you've got to go make dinner for the family or go to bed or whatever, or you've stayed up way too late trying to get this done and you've got work in the morning, whatever it is. And I get it because I did it for months. So that is what I solved. And I solved it for myself. Hopefully the tools that I use will solve it for you too. So by the end of this class, and this is the class, what you should be able to do is pin down your own voice in writing. You should be able to build at least a document that you can paste into the AI and that you can catch when the AI cheats you. This is, and I've got another. There we are. We've got everyone. So basically, what we want to do is we want to, and I've got all the tools for you. They're all in the classroom. So when this class is over, you are able to go in. You can do the self-paced class. You can go through and, yes, it can work for character voices too. So if you're writing in a character, or if you're writing in first person, it will work for that. If you're looking to create specific characters that you want to make sure that they don't sound flat or wooden or all the same, like all my heroes sound like, you know, they're the dashing type, but they've got no flaws. That's not what you want. You need some flaws. And so it basically, there are ways to incorporate all of that and to get that in when you start the drafting process. So in the planning part of drafting your book, and all of those tools are in different parts. So in like Foundations of Claude, in that self-paced class, in the, I believe it's the third and fourth segment where you're putting your projects together and then planning your books, all of those tools are in there. They're segments to do exactly that. And you set up the foundations so that your voice does not drift. And absolutely, if Claude created it, and that's where you come up with the characters and then you tell him what they are and let him create the character from there, and you tweak it with him. As long as he had a part in the process, he keeps it straight in his little brain, which is massive. Actually, he has a massive brain. But everyone assumes that the trick for figuring out how to tell Claude or tell your AI tools how to sound like you is just to load your chapters and let me just load your here's a book that I wrote, write like this. And everybody's like, that's what you do to get Claude to sound like you. And that works to an extent, but it's not the entire picture. Yes, Claude can copy, but it doesn't work the way that you think it should work. I've tested it. I put full books that I wrote long before AI came along into AI, and then I was like, here, regurgitate, and he didn't. He would still drift. He would still start the chapter with, she woke up in the morning, stretched. She could smell the coffee and the bright summer day. Like, what? No, we don't start our chapters that way. We need to start in the action. Who starts a chapter with she woke up in the morning and she walked to the kitchen and made coffee? Like, I don't want a play-by-play of her day. I want to know what's bringing me into the story. And without those type of guidelines and like getting Claude to understand that, sure, I've given him my book to upload and to say, here, copy my voice. And so he'll copy how you wrote it, but he's going to write the dribble. And it's still going to be AI slop because he doesn't still have those guidelines for exactly what he's supposed to write and how. So yeah, you say, it's correct, it's clean, but it checks boxes. It's checking boxes along like, oh, she wants this. Oh, it's got to have this. Oh, it's got to have this. We need to check different boxes. And that's the secret. That's the trick. You've got to get Claude to understand that those are not the boxes we check just because those are storytelling boxes. Those are not the storytelling boxes we want. Those are third grade storytelling boxes. Those are not adult romance, fiction, thriller, whatever storytelling boxes. We need to start in the action. So the voice isn't in the rules, it's in the choices. You are the director. The pen name form that I provided is a huge, huge, huge part of making your AI tool sound the way that you want it to sound for each pen name. So that tool, absolutely. And that's what I'm talking about here. That is, so it's part of the tool of making your tool sound like you. So you become the director of the pen name. So you want to make sure that the choices that are being made are the ones that you approve, that you want to happen that way. So when you are having your AI tools write prose as a ghostwriter would, and I've worked with ghostwriters way back in 2020 and so forth when I was writing, and I realized I wanted to write. I was trying to write faster. I was trying to do the whole rapid release thing, which has never worked out for me. And I'm still not trying to do it with AI tools. I started to at first, and then I was like, this is not going to work for me, because I really need to be a little more focused on what this is producing. And I prefer to be more focused on it. So I'm not, you're never going to see, oh, Jess wrote a book a day. Look at that. Not happening. Not happening. I might get to where I'm doing a book a week, but that's going to be probably not. Maybe 2 or 3 books a month. And that's, that's with a lot of work and mostly focusing on that. So to be completely real with you guys, I have not produced one of my own books where I've finished it, start to finish, completely ready to put out there since I think March, actually. I have 3 books right now that I'm going to release this month, but that is, I've been very distracted by the school and everything else. So, but yeah. So, and I agree with what Cameron's saying, your pen name is going to give your author the voice, but you also want to make tweaks for your individual characters that are rooted in character, which varies for both your dialogue and your point of view, depending on the character, how they are, and also how you want them written. So it's basically, the voice doesn't live in the rules. It lives in the choices. And I'm sorry, my dog's just decided that someone was here because my son dropped something, I'm quite sure. Yeah, I knew it was him. Okay, sorry. Yeah, let the dog out. Thank you. Okay, I apologize for that. So your voice doesn't live in the rules. It lives in the choices that you make. So, like I said, Claude's going to follow. He's going to check the boxes. He's going to follow the rules. You're the one who directs whether or not that rule that needs to be part of this particular book or not. So what I want you to understand today, especially if you're looking at all of the AI stuff, like, it's going to compress me. It's not going to sound like me. Look at it. It doesn't even sound like me now. It can't even write a decent story. Oh my God, this, it's giving me a headache trying to figure out how to make it work for me. You have to understand, it's not replacing you. It can never replace you, because you're the director. You're the only one who can sound like you, like I said before. Even when you have it tweaked and sounding very close to what you want, it's still a pen name. It's still a ghostwriter. It's still writing for you. And as I was saying before, I used ghostwriters in the past because I couldn't produce prose quickly enough for myself. I wanted to be faster. And so I used ghostwriters. And also there was, I was trying to write to market, and I couldn't figure out, like, so I thought, okay, I'm going to write this erotica, or I'm going to write this dark romance. And it wasn't really in my wheelhouse to write it quite that way. Even now, writing mafia romance, some of you can attest, I get a little cringy. I'm like, oh boy, that's pretty dark. And you guys go real dark, some of you. And I'm like, oh, that's a bit dark, isn't it? But that's writing to market, and the market right now supports that. And so, because that's what readers are looking for, but that was never something that I was very comfortable writing. And so I had hired ghostwriters to do it for me, and then produce that. And I have to say that having a ghostwriter that I can tweak on the fly and like text from my bed at midnight to write this other chapter in this other way beats having a ghostwriter who gets back to me once a week and produces stuff that I look at and I still have to rewrite all of it because it definitely wasn't in my voice or the way that I would write, with choppy sentences and different things like that. And so maybe that's one of the reasons why I look at writing with Claude a little differently than a lot of other authors, because I've written with ghostwriters who then gave me, they gave me completed books because they were like machines. They could just write it. I have this issue where I can't write something I'm not thinking, like, I really have to focus and just get it on the page in a, people say right into the dark. That's never really been me. I write into the dark to a point, and then I can't. So yeah. And if you don't know your voice, yes, what you're looking for, Nora, is, so basically what I say, and what I said a little bit earlier, is to find and discover what you want your voice to be isn't the same as what your voice actually is. So my voice tends to, I write suspense, I write mysterious, like there's always a mystery involved in the romance, and that's kind of how I write. But I've always wanted to write rom-com, and I like paranormal rom-com very much, vampire rom-com, romantasy, stuff like that. I like humor in my books when I'm reading them, but I can't necessarily write the humor in a way that's actually funny. And I've actually been able to do that with Claude, pointing the direction of what I'd like. So your voice is what you like and what you want to produce on the page. That's your voice. Don't let anybody tell you that it's how you write, or your voice is going to be, your voice is what you choose to make it. And you can choose to make it however you want. So if you want your voice to, and the way that you write is how you think. So you're the creative director of your Claude tools. You can use Claude to write the thing, but you creatively direct the thing. The director's chair is absolutely yours. And one of the things that you have going for you is you know what a good story is, and you know what you like. You know where you want these characters to go. You know how you want them to go together. That right there is, nobody can take that away from you. It's your story to tell. It's not Claude's story to tell. It's not your AI tool's story to tell. It's your story to tell, and how you want it to be heard and how you want to tell it. That's your voice. That's where it's going to come from, in that place. It's not going to sound generic if you're the one in the director's chair telling Claude, this is where we want to go next. The frustration comes when he wants to take the story into his own hands and make it his story, and then, wake up in sunshine and flowers in the beginning of the chapter, and let's foreshadow what's happening next. Oh, but she couldn't see that 3 years later, or she couldn't see that coming down a week later she was going to, like, stop telling us what's going to happen next. We don't want to know that. We do not want the foreshadowing. So that is what that is all part of finding your voice. Maybe you want to write that way. Maybe that is the way that you want your stories to be written, and those are the readers that you're looking for, and that is absolutely fine. That is not what I wanted my Claude to be doing, because there's a specific way to write certain stories, and foreshadowing and telling people what's about to come is not the way of it. So your voice isn't magic, and I hope that helped a little bit, Nora. And absolutely, like Cameron's saying, there's always going to be part of you that's in every type of voice that you produce. So it's not magic. It's your words, it's the rhythm, it's what you notice about what's in there, the type of humor that you're using, and the banned words and the punctuation that you're going to use for each one of them. So for example, I have in my sweet genre, so in the sweet romance that I write, and I've just started writing in, there's going to be, the banned words in that are going to be any swearing, anything that is going to go out of context, of keeping it in a sweet sort of context. There's going to be no sex. There's going to be no phrasing that like goes towards that. There's not going to be a lot of heat in it. There's just going to be that tension, that's what those readers are looking for. And absolutely, you're welcome. And then if you're writing if you're writing in a romantasy, or say you're writing contemporary, so contemporary or historical. So contemporary is going to have the contemporary voice inflections. You're not going to be writing like Jane Austen when you're writing, a rom-com meet cute that happens in Central Park. And to put that in another context, if you're writing Regency romance, or if you're writing historical romance, you're not going to, so your banned words are going to include phrases, and that's the other thing. Banned words aren't always words. They're also phrases. They're also concepts, things like that. Never write this, always write this. And if you guys had a chance to, and I need to put it in the classroom, it's just in a chat, I believe, in the school, the band phrases, that band tool that I created, that I had you guys all test out, and it seems to work pretty well. You just pop your information in there, but you can create your own band list in that. And that can be very helpful for tweaking your voice. But each one of those voices, so if I'm writing like Sage Kennedy, she's the rom-com billionaire royal romance, secret royals and billionaires and that kind of, contemporary romance. There's humor in there. The rhythm is different than if I'm writing under Ruthie Clark, which is more romantic-y, dragons, shifters, a little dark, a little edgy, a little definitely fantasy. There'd be some, fantasy type humor in there, but there's a lot more dark in there. Will she survive? Is she going to figure out that her fated mate is actually alive, or did she accidentally kill him? Just all of these other different things. So each one of these voices is going to be a little different than Marjorie Adams. She writes Regency. That voice is completely different than my Ruthie Clark voice. But the core of it is still me. I still make the decisions. I'm still the creative director of what happens in the story, where it goes, and how it gets there. So that's what writing in your style and your voice style actually is. So if you're looking at writing in two, so if you're writing the same scene in two different voices, so one way she felt a wave of emotion wash over her, and she realized the weight of what had happened, which is completely AI, like everybody writes that way. That's checking off a box. Oh, she felt the emotion. Oh, she's got this. Is it possible for pen names to sound the same or have the same style? Is there a rule it can't? People are people, and there's always going to be overlap. There's to go. So Ed Sheeran, he's written some songs, okay, and I'm just using this as an example. He's written some songs, and another artist was like, that song was mine, I wrote it first, and that's exact cadence and copy of everything that I wrote, because Ed Sheeran made millions of dollars with the same song that he did, and I can't remember if he had made millions of dollars with his song too or whatever. All I remember is that there was a dispute about that, and it came down to, listen, some parts of the song sound similar to your song and some of them don't. And that is because there's only so many songs and so many melodies and so many ways that you can sing it. And I believe the same thing is true of voices and writing and pen names, and how you produce content. You're as creative as you can be, but people are people, and there's still going to be overlap. There's still going to be people who say, oh, yep, she's got kind of a voice like, Colleen Hoover. Oh, but she writes a little bit like, Katie McAllister. Oh, she writes a little bit like Jude Deborah. Oh, she's right. Those are my favorite authors. Joanna Lindsay. Joanna Lindsay was writing Dub Con long before Dub Con was a thing. You want to read some interesting stories, read Joanna Lindsay. God bless her. She's since gone, but she was one of my favorite writers and authors from the 80s. And she was the one who opened my eyes wide about what DubCon was. And anyway, my point is, when you're an author, if you're a reader, and most of us, let's face it, as authors, we are readers. You are a reader first. And so a little bit of everything that you've read is going to leak out in your voice somehow, because that's what you like, that's what you've ingested, that's what you've learned. It's the same thing as going to school, and then you learn how to speak French, and now you can speak French. The French language is the same. It's like English. You learn how to speak English. It's I hope that makes sense. because it is going to sound a little bit the same. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's not your voice. It just means that you've taken and incorporated parts of different things that you have learned and experienced throughout your life, which makes it unique to you, because it's coming from your experiences and your mind and the way that you process the world. And that's what makes it your voice, not because it sounds a little bit like somebody over here or over here. It's because it's how you process things, and you are directing the AI tool to write the prose, but you're the one who actually decides when you're reading through, when you're doing past 9 on the Edit Like a Boss passes. Past 9 is the human part. That is you. You're the only one who can do that. You're the only one who can read through that manuscript and go, wait a minute, we cannot have in chapter 9, he kissed her with all the passion he'd had in chapter 3. Like, no. Who's going to catch that? Not one AI tool, not one AI beta reader caught that. The human catches that. And that's you. That's what brings your voice out. So yeah. And the other thing too, I just want to mention, because Cameron is saying, Cameron real but edge is you can become something in your voice, in your pen name, that you may or may not be in real life. It gives you a little bit of freedom sometimes to say, you know what, this isn't who I am. I'm painfully shy and I don't want to talk to people. So I'm going to write a character. I'm in this is not going to be me. I'm going to be an open person, and I'm going to, I'm going to write characters who are very open, and we're going to so it's another way. Or if you always wanted to write about something specific and never had the guts to do it under your own name, your pen name is one of the ways that you can kind of let that go and get out some of the things that you have inside you that you want to release. But it's still you. You're still the creative director of everything that's going on. So, and I'm going to skip this, but basically it's the difference between using an AI tool to write like an AI tool and using an AI tool to write in the way that you're directing it to do. And, so your skill sheet, which is, this is what you're going to build. And you build it specifically step by step. And it's going to take you a little bit of time to build. This is not something that you like plug and play right away. This is something you can do that if you don't really care what the results are going to be and you want to spend a lot of time arguing with your AI tools. But if you don't, this is where you have to do a little bit of the homework yourself, and you've got to put a little bit of the work in to tell your AI tools exactly how you want it to sound, what you want it for. And so like in the pen name builder that I put it in several different places in the classroom, you can go in, basically you put your pen name and your genre, and then you go through and you can get as specific as you want to, or you can be as general as you want to. The choice is yours. And at the end of it, you produce something that then you can put into Claude and have him create a skill for you. And maybe I'll do an interactive of that to just kind of show you what I'm talking about. So this is basically the introduction and kind of talking about what this is all about. We're going to go through the how-tos, the results, and then we'll talk about the conclusion. So the first thing that you may want to do is take 2 paragraphs of your own writing that sound the most like you, and look at how that would work for you. Now, what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to see if this is going to change. Oh, good. Okay, so I'm going to go into school and go to classroom. And so The pen name launcher, which is a self-paced class, which if you are in premium, you have access to. This right here, these lessons, this is specifically have Claude help you discover your voice. So you're going to set up your own projects, your own Claude. So basically, this is what we're talking about. So you're choosing exactly what's what. This is all step-by-step walking you through how to use the pen name skill. And this is the pen name skill builder that we were talking about. This specifically was designed to help you create your voice. Because as I said earlier, each pen name is really a voice name. And so if you think of it as a voice name, and I call them pen names because that's what people relate to. That's what they understand. Maybe I should rename them voice names. I don't know. But that's specifically what this is. So with this, and this is a very detailed document, if you haven't already checked it out and looked it over and actually given it a try, you really need to. So you start with, you put in a pen name. You can put your date or create it if you want to. You don't have to put your real name in here. This are just things that you can reference for yourself at the end of the day. And if you have a tagline like paranormal romance is my jam, and I'm just going to do, we'll just do Abby Jane. Let's do an Abby Jane. And you guys put in the chat information that you might want me to put in. We're going to fill this out and we're going to plug it into Claude, and I'm going to show you exactly how that works so that you can see step by step how we create the pen name and then how we add it into Claude, because I think that's what you guys we're looking for. So a tagline on this would be that, I love that, give no fucks. There we go. Author bio, to be determined. I'm not going to worry about how it differs. So our primary genre, what's our primary genre, guys? What do we want? Dark romance, mystery. Are we doing mystery or mystery romance? You're just going to do mystery? Mystery romance, okay. What's our subgenre? Are we doing small town? Are we doing rom-com? Are we doing, or is this historical, small town? And if you can think of a comp author, throw it out there. Otherwise, we don't really need to worry about these. You can fill this out if you've done your research, and I do encourage you to do that. And I have a whole other in here. There's another, this worksheet right here is to, let me go back real fast. This worksheet is to help you figure out what you want your pen name to do. So if you're seriously going to put this pen name on Amazon, you want to make sure that, first of all, nobody else has that name. And second of all, how is it going to sit on the shelf next to other authors who are in that same genre in Amazon? This particular worksheet, which is your worksheet here for building your pen name identity, this worksheet helps you do that. So your candidates are the different pen names that you're considering on what you really want. And then, did you search it on Amazon? Did you make sure that there was nothing on Goodreads? Did you find any conflicts? Why would this work for your genre? What genre are you writing? Why did you choose this combination? So you've got to get into the nitty gritty on choosing a pen name if you're serious about choosing a brand new pen name. And this is for you, Nora, to get down to the nitty gritty so that you make sure that it sits in the right place. There's nothing worse than choosing a pen name, getting all excited about it, and then you go and you release your book and you find out that your pen name that you thought was so original, yeah, you probably have a very original one. But there's nothing worse than finding out that the pen name you thought was so original is also out there under a different genre. And also, so now you've got to fight with that person about, whose pen name is it really? And so, and then choosing all of this. So this here is when you're being serious about, setting all this is what you fill out before you get here. Okay, so this is for you. This is your worksheet to figure out what you want your pen name to be, how you want to set it all up. This worksheet is for you and not Claude. And it doesn't have any Claude prompt thing in here. This is just for you. And so I created this so that you would understand, and then you can print it when you're done. You can print this out, or you can save it in a PDF, or however you want to do that, so that you have your information. This is the research that you do to figure out what you're going to do your pen name. So once you figured all that out, you come over here and now you fill this out so that you can put it into Claude. So if you've done your, oh God, really? Let's do that. Killing me. I love Douglas Adams too, by the way. And my favorite character of all times is Marvin. Marvin, the robot. And Ford Perfect. Ford Prefect. It's not perfect, he's prefect. And I always read it wrong. Who's our target reader? Do we know? Marvin the Pyramid, I know. He's totally a legend. Comp books, unless you guys can shout them out, I don't know, but I know where my towel is. I know it's not close enough. It's freaking they're coming to take away our planet. Anyway, target reader. So this is a mystery romance, small town with Richard Osman and Douglas Adams. Then just for shits and giggles, let's throw in maybe I should put Drew Devereaux in there. Colleen and kill me. Okay, as our target reader. There. What's our Amazon category, guys? Oh, Nora Roberts. I could throw her in there too. I was just thinking if I put a paranormal author in, like, we're really gonna go all out here. Don't necessarily have to put those in there. We're going to leave that alone. So what's our heat level? We've got, and this is for our content boundaries. So this is in section 3. You want to be specific because Claude is going to follow these like they're boxes he's checking off. Okay, so this is where you want to make sure that the boxes he's checking off are the ones you want him checking off. So what's our heat level, guys? We want to be sweet, or we're going taboo, or somewhere in the middle. Mild to moderate. Okay, moderate. We'll go moderate. I could go mild. Let's go mild. Violence. How violent are we getting? None. It's a cozy feel good, or we're going graphic violence with trauma and heavy content warnings. We'll go moderate on that too. So what kind of themes or situations or elements can readers expect in every single book that this particular pen name is going to write? What are they going to expect? When a reader picks up an Abby Jane book, that's the weird pen name that we came up with. So when readers pick up Abby Jane, they are going to count on a happily ever after. I should probably spell that out. Happily ever after. Ooh, reverse age gap. He falls first. And hard like that. All right. And content this pen name will never include violence against women, high stakes, death. Yeah, I'll say that. Okay, and now do we have banned character names that we would never want to see, like Chen, like Marcus Chen? I usually use Chen. I usually say Marcus, but then I've also used Marcus as one of my heroes' names long before AI came along. And it's funny because when I had him, Patterson, okay, Patterson, Jake, Henderson, Marvin, Lara, Marcus, okay. And don't really need any content warnings because not that kind of pen name. So the signature tropes. So this here is like, what tropes is this pen name going to return to over and over again? So this is like relationship dynamics. So we've already said we're going to have instant connection. Let's see, could be fake dating. So these are, let's see, slow burn. We got the slow burn going on. So this is our slow burn. Then our character types. What did we say? We've got the strong independent hero, and we've got the alpha hero. We've got the found family, celebrities, single parents, blue collar, like morally gray. Let's see, morally gray, and forced proximity. Let's see, situational. Oh, we already said small town, so we'll check that one off. And then this is, so if those tropes are not here, you can also add them here. So the others that we were talking about here, I'm going to just throw these down here. And tropes that we avoid. Those are the ones that so if you were to tell Claude, we're going to write a book in Abby Jane's pen name, in the Abby Jane name, or the Abby Jane style. He knows immediately that this is probably going to be a slow burn book. It's going to be morally gray. It's going to be small town. So he already has those kind of dialed in. So the suggestions that he gives you are going to be branded towards that. So the signature tropes, this is signature for that pen name. Like, this is what this pen name is generally going to write. This is what readers come for. That's basically what they're coming here for. What does this pen name avoid? He falls first. Got that in there. Secret identity. How about that one? Cinnamon roll. Okay. Cinnamon roll. Single parent. And any others? All right, and so now we're in voice and tone. So this is section 5, and we're midway through. We still got a little ways to go. So how do you want this to be? Warm and witty? Obviously, we don't want warm because we're going angsty on this. So, what's our humor level going to be? So our overall tone would be, I like snarky. That's my favorite tone. Witty, sarcastic. Our humor level, I don't know. Let's say a angst level 5. And this is where you can really dive in a little deeper. You can put in words that describe the reading experience. Your pacing style, is it fast-paced, breathing room at the end with emotional peaks? Your narrative voice, your narrative style. Is it always going to be first-person POVs, or is it going to be present tense, first person, or are we going to go into past tense, like, or third person? Are you doing like dual POVs? So usually I'll do dual POV, alternating chapters. Oops. And what do you guys want to do? You want to go first or past tense, typical tense, or first person past tense, first person third? I don't know. First person past. Okay. And we'll say Yeah, because the POV is your dual POV alternating chapters. So this is where you're going to put the type of POV. So if it's only going to be in one person POV, or if it's not going to be a POV, it's going to be actually the author omnipotent retelling the story, then you're going to put that there. And then your typical tense would be like, yeah. But play around with it, see what works better. And then your narrative voice, and then your profanity level. So we're going none to heavy. I'm going to say it's moderate because of the type of book that we seem to be, or the type of author that we seem to be coming up with here. And then your sentence style, do you want it short and punchy, or do you want it character dependent, shifts with the POV? Personally, that's what I like, because I want, a lot of times when you're in the protagonist's head, the male protagonist's head, usually I like short, punchy sentences. That he thinks a little bit differently. He's a little bit more literal, a lot more swearing. Whereas when you're in her head, then it's usually a little more flowy, a little less swearing, but still like the snarky, sometimes self-depreciating, that kind of thing. So usually that's what I do. And then your dialogue style. So you can put in here, and if you guys want me to add in any like particular dialogue style, like witty banter, or whether or not they're going to talk over each other or whatever, and any writing style influences. So authors whose style you want to blend in with. So as you can see here, the example is Tessa Bailey's banter with Emily Henry's emotional depth and a touch of Nora Roberts' setting. So that's one way that you can kind of bring in a little bit of an aspect of each different type of voice. And then what makes this voice different from your other pen names. So if someone was to read it without the cover, what would it tell them about this particular voice and this particular pen name, which is going to be different. So you can fill this out, or you can leave it blank. You do not have to niche down that hard. But if you do, the more you niche down, the more specific your voice tone will be, and the more specifically Claude will write it. Because again, these are the check boxes that tell Claude what boxes to check when he's writing. And then your point of view rules. So this is where you're saying a single point of view per chapter, no head hopping under any circumstances. So that's usually the rule that I make. And that's why it's in there, because these are actually my rules, and Claude just used those as examples. So first person goes in the tense and not in the POV. So you've got your, yeah, first person tense, past tense, first person. I believe that's dual first person alternating chapters. Yeah. Past tense, first person. And then down here, you can, niche it down into each chapter exactly what. So what I do is always start in the action, never open with the weather. You never waking up. This is literally what I've told Claude. No slick folds, exactly. But start in the action. No waking up and starting the day. Day has already started. We are in process. And then the ending, ending mid-scene with forward momentum. There's no cliffhangers for their own sake, and no philosophical wrap-ups about, and nothing saying, and if only she could see that tomorrow she was going to actually like him. Like, oh my God, please spare me. Is not how we're writing this book. And mid-scene, no cliff hangers for no reason, no wrap-ups. No foreshadowing. Whoops, of future happenings. Things must never do in this pen name. what must he never do, and then what must he always do. So no tangled, no purple prose, no she thought to herself, no telling the reader how to feel. Person as perspective is rendered in how it is interpreted. Yeah. So your point of view is a perspective of what that person, so the chapter character, how they're interpreting it, how it's being seen. But actually yeah, that's the limit for with the character, which is why I say no head hopping, because you are in, and I've seen this a lot, and it used to happen to me all the time before I corrected and corralled Claude a little bit more. When you allow him to say, okay, it's only going to be in this person's POV, but you don't tell him not to head hop, next thing you know, we're learning about what the protagonist is thinking about her. And like, you sit there in amusement. Well, how does she know he's amused? Maybe she thinks he's pissed off. You're in her head, not his. So, things like that. So so when you get into his head, then we can see his point of view. Then we can see how he found her funny, with whatever she was doing when she thought he was pissed off. You get both sides of the story that way. And it's kind of a cooler way to write, especially for romance. But yeah, that's the perspective, how it's rendered. So things that you want Claude to always do, very sentence openings. And dialogue. And he should also lengths. Oh, whoops. There we go. Various sentence lengths, and he must always oh boy, I had a thought, but that's okay. We'll just stop with that. And then your endings and your reader promises. So guaranteed, happily ever after, or happily for now, always positive, may vary by books. Yeah, you can put clues in. Absolutely. Hopeful is satisfying but not traditional. Open, so varies by books, not guaranteed happy. And then series arcs. So depending on whether you're writing a series and you're like having characters, open ending because you want them to go on and read the next book. So what can readers always count on? What should they never expect? So these are things that you really want to niche down, kind of think about for each one of the pen names that you're writing, because these are all going to be different per each one. And then any series or projects that you're already working on, you can add it in here. You can add another series if you've got more than one. What status you're in, how many books do you have in it, what are the subgenres and the core tropes in that particular series. So if you already have an established canon, like you're trying to make it now, you're working on your own pen name that you're trying to like put in here, and you already have established canon, you can add that in here. And you can tell him what your current work in progress is, the title on where you are, and what are the standalone titles under this particular pen name if you've already written them. If you haven't, you skip this part completely. You don't have to put it in there at all. And if your character voices differ, then you're going to write. So if your pen names are different, you're writing one of these for each one of your pen names, because each one is going to be different. So you're not going to put them all under the same pen name, because that would be different. It's like trying to corral, herd cats. You're just not going to be able to do it, because they're all going to sound a little bit differently. And then all you're going to be is frustrated because, your rom-com sounds exactly the same as your dark fantasy. You don't want them to sound the same, hence the reason why you're creating a different voice skill for each one of them. They have to have different boxes for Claude to check, and the only way you can check these boxes is if he knows what's what. And so this is where you put all this into play. So if you already have this pen name and it's already established and you're trying to get them to write like this pen name, this is where you put that information. And if you have any planned or future projects that you already know about and you're already working on, that's where you're going to put that. And if you are one of those who have already decided what your branding is going to be and you have a cover style already and you want your covers to be the cutesy cartoons or you want them to be something else, so you're talking about your story characters, that's different because that's not going to be in your pen name planning. That's going to be in your book planning. When you're planning out the characters specifically, that's where you're going to put in your character voices if they differ. This is only talking about, so when you're talking about your single POV and head hopping and things like that, this here where you're talking about your narrative style, you're not talking about specific characters at this point. If you want your characters to sound different where they're going, you can do differences in character profiles, but for this here specifically, this is just how this pen name or how this voice style is going to write the characters, but not necessarily specifics about the characters. I hope that makes sense. Because that, when you're going to get specific about each character's voice and the difference in those, that is going to be, that's a completely different worksheet. And I do have that. It is actually in the classroom. And if you go into Foundations of Claude, if you're a premium member, you go into Foundations of Claude and you start up. This is where you're building everything from scratch and you're starting right from the foundation, setting your Claude up so that he understands who you are, how you write, what you write, why you write, right down to every part of it. This part here with the building your secret weapon and what is a skill and all of these skill things, this particular part of the class was rewritten like 6 times because that is also the pen name class. So that it's the same thing. The building your secret weapon is your pen name, and that's what we're talking about right now, and that's its own class. So I probably should put here, it is its own class that I didn't do that. But you can also grab the beta reader, build your beta readers right here, your editor right here, what you're looking for in your beta reader in your editor, and then this is your pen name skill builder, which we are right now working on. So that's all part of this. Yeah, absolutely it does. That is what I was about to show you. That's what I wanted to show you guys. So you get to the bottom of all of this and you filled everything out and you figured out your branding, you generate your Claude skill right there. And so this here is what Claude you've now generated. So you copy to clipboard and now we're going to go in here. So yes, I am Boss Lady Jess. That is right. That is me. But that's also how I know I'm in the right Claude. Because I have 3 or 4 different Claudes. I was going to do it in a bare naked Claude. I'm just going to put it in my regular Claude because it's a whole entirely new pen name. And so as you can see, I have a few skills in here. And some of them are pen name skills. And one of the pen name skills, I'll just point out a couple of things that I have going on in some of my pen name skills. So one, I probably scrolled right by her because there's so many here. I'm looking for Connie. Ruthie's another one, I think. So one of the things that comes out in here that I'd like you to just notice is I've got, this is completely filled out. We have the dark fantasy, it's a romantasy, what it is, the brand promise is all in here. The critical voice. So everything that we filled out in the skill creator, that's what comes in here. This is, I'm okay with M dashes because it's me. So I use them. I don't give a, I don't care. I use them. And then it puts in here. So these are our quick references. Our POV is going to be dual POV prefer. Our heat levels 4 or 5. Heroines transforms through the story, has agency, earns her power. Fantasy world setting with rules. Earned through transformation and sacrifice is our happily ever after. Subgenre lanes, these are all the subgenres that Ruthie will write. She will never write wallpaper. World building must be integral to the story. Heroes who stay irredeemable, they've got to have some redeemable, even if they're not at first. Rushed mate acceptance, no, it's got to be earned. No purple prose, always includes hero's transformation through loving her, the heroine's transformation through her own journey, stakes beyond the romance, the bond being earned, not just fated, and then scene checklist. Before completing any Ruthie Clark scene, he's verifying. And again, I was telling you about the checklist. This is what I'm talking about. He has to have his little checklist. And so we give him the checklist so that he can check off his little checklist. No, you don't want it to be a text file, and this is why. So this is your skill, but then you've got your references in here. Do you see this? You've got your character rules. You've got your heat guidelines. You've got your tropes. You've got your this is my series Bible for this particular series. So everything in the series Bible is within this, in this particular pen name skill. And then I've got my world building, all of the different fantasy worlds and how to build the world is all within this. So this skill, yeah, it starts out as a skill file, and you have, it looks like just a regular MD skill file, but that's not what it is. And so when you start with it, you have, this is your beginning, but your references, that is your key to really niching into your voice. You must have these, okay? And the only way to get into that is to really get into the nitty gritty of building your own, your pen name voices. So it does start, but you don't want it to be, you will also, and I believe I have, did I put it in here? I have it in a separate way, where there's, the instructions for this pen name. So every time I write in this pen name and I'm starting a project that's going to be with this pen name, these are the instructions that I put in there. But usually I will start with the planner. So when I'm starting with my fiction planner, the start of this is usually we're planning, and these are all the references for the planners. So in my planner, it's what are the outline prompts, and then we are going, depending on the different type of genre or romance genre that I'm going to write in, it's the tropes that are going to go with particularly whatever that was, and also which pen name am I using, and so then it will pull the pen name information. Oh, are we writing a new story in the Wings of Ash series, or is it going to be something else? So Claude already knows all of these things. This is not something that happens overnight. I'm not gonna lead you guys on and tell you that, oh yeah, you can have this tomorrow. No, you can't. You have to take the time to develop your Claude so that he has the specifics. And this is partly I have done this, and I've actually created this, and I've taken my pen names out of it and put it out for you guys to have as well. But yeah, you have everything all together in that. So an example though of a pen name that isn't as well developed is, well, it's not Sage, because Sage is now, this one is slower developed. Like she doesn't have a whole series or anything like that. And this one too, it's got comedy in here, where Ruthie doesn't have comedy. She's got heat guidelines because it's heat and it's dark fantasy. And then Connie is, she's got the whole Wild Romance series Bible with that, and that's 8 to 10 book series right now, with the ones that are still being written. So it's everything. It's all together. When you're putting, it's not just the series voice, it's your voice for what you're writing in these worlds. So I have several series under Connie. I've only put the Wild Romance because that's the one I got wrong. Because the other series they don't build, this is the only series in this particular pen name that all of the characters in every single book meet and talk to each other, and they're all friends, and they all interact, and they're all marrying each other's brothers and sisters and cousins and whatever. So that was important, that needed to be in the pen name so that Claude can keep it all straight. Because before I put that series Bible in the pen name reference file, he got it wrong all the time. He could never, ever keep my characters straight or where they were supposed to be in the world. He was making the doctors the lawyers, and the lawyers the doctors, and the lawyers the farmers. And I'm like, no, he's not a farmer. He's a freaking doctor. How many times do I have to tell you this? So yes, he does. With the series Bible and putting it in the pen name skill this way, finally he gets it right. Or he's finally getting it right. So, but this is, again, this is something that you have to develop. So you develop your series Bible with him, and then you have him put it in your skill for you. And he does keep it all straight. And that's the reason. And this is a pretty robust Bible. It tells him right at the top how he's supposed to use it. These are all instructions for Claude. You know, this is, Jessica has decided it's a fixed truth. This is established. This is a drift. The book is contradicts established canon. And see, I was drifting in my own series. I was doing it myself. And so part of trying to get this all fixed was, you know, using Claude to help me keep things straight. And so these are the ones that are out right now. And then I'm working on 3 more. Yeah, right here. And so it knows, and then it knows, you know, there's other to be determined, or these are going to be another crossover series that I'm going to use. But yeah, no, it's I hadn't thought of it either. It was something that came after long hours of frustration, going with the back and forth and figuring out, if you put in your pen name. So Kelsey Croft, this is the new one. Okay, this is the one that now notice Kelsey doesn't have the reference file. She doesn't have anything because I've just started this pen name. This is the pen name that wrote Dead Assets. So I use this pen name to write the Dead Assets book that is in the school. Everybody, whether you're free or not, you can read it. And it's all in here. This was written by Kelsey Croft. It was supposed to be the Kelsey Croft pen name. Everything in here. And I even go through with you and I show you exactly, this is the premise document. This is what was baked in. This is what I've asked it to do. This is what he regurgitated based on what I told him. And we started all of that here in, and I'm working on this whole prompt to publication, trying to get this going so that he asks intake questions, and then we route it to, you know, who's it supposed to go to and all of that. But this was created with my fiction planners. We start with the fiction planner, and each one of those we start right from the beginning. So we start with the drafting prose. So we're not drafting in this planner. Do not use this skill for drafting, editing, beta feedback, or book marketing. This is specifically, sorry, a lot of S's right there, but this is specifically to when I'm starting a new book or series, or returning to a stall. Oh, Vern, I'll see you later. And thank you for stopping in. And you can watch the replay too. That's why I hit record. And we have about a little over half an hour, because I'm stopping at 3. I have a hard stop at 3. So basically, to use this particular skill, this is all it does. It's planning a new series. We're starting a new pen name. We're mapping out books. We need to build the story in the codex and the story Bible. We're setting up the book, doing the outline. What tropes are we using? What's the story promise? Chapter prompts for this particular book. So this is just the book planning. And each one of these, we've got our outline prompts. So if it is, and it's right in here. So the prompt itself is within the skill. So yeah, skills are something that are so underutilized and misunderstood and not really taught. And what I have come to realize about skills, and so all I do is, everything that I do is focused for writing, for authors, for publishing, and now also for teaching and doing classwork, things like that. But everything I do is just, how can I make this a better process? How can I make it, I'm just a one-man show here. I'm just me, but I need to be a publisher. I need to be an editor. I need to be a cover designer. I need to be a planner. I need to go through and, you know, I need the beta readers. I need all of the different things that you need when you're writing and you're trying to get everything out, and you're that indie author and you've been doing it. And you just need a little bit of a break. Maybe somebody else can take over and think about that for a minute. And you already know how you want your story to go. You've decided in your head, okay, this is going to be this type of a story, and we're gonna write This is how they're going to meet. This is how they're going to, but now you got to write it all out. And you got to outline it so that you stick to to what you've just thought of and what you've written out and everything else. That's the hard part. That's not the part that Claude takes over for you. He plans it all out for you, and he takes it from from start to finish. So in here, I show you exactly what this produced for me. So this produced the premise and the entire document, what the story promise is, the whole premise, what it is, and evaluated. These are the boxes that he's checking off for us. And then the trope stack. What are the tropes in this book? And this has made a huge difference as well for Claude to understand how he's supposed to be writing these things. If he doesn't have the trope stack, he tends to go off on his own little tangents and what the book's supposed to be. But if you say, no, it needs to have these tropes, and this is how they interact and how they make each other stronger and what we're doing here. And I wanted to go a little different too. I did a curvy heroine. Let's do that. He falls first, curvy heroine, ancient vampire, modern woman, small town secrets. Let's just, putting it all together and what the conflicts are going to produce in there. So, and then what the scene drivers are and what each scene is for. And this was me telling Claude exactly what I wanted, how it was supposed to go, right down through to make sure that he understood what this book was supposed to be, where we were going with it, just putting it all together. The impossible collision, and then he does the timeline. He puts it in the 3-act structure. Got our midpoint, and I based that on. I actually used. I cheated and I used Plotter, so I have Plotter. I don't know if I have it downloaded on this computer because I just got a new computer because I needed more room. But I plugged that into Claude and I said, this is the way that, because he needs the structure. I don't need the structure because I'm all over the place. Yeah, I cheated when I didn't use AI. But I gave him, I think it was Gwen, oh my God, what's her last name? Romancing the Beat. Whatever her name is. Y'all know what I mean. If you look up Romancing the Beat, that basically she's the beat sheet for writing romance, and that's been around for years and years. But that's what I used, and I plugged that in, and so he follows that. He's got his little check marks that he can follow, and so he knows. So Act 1 is going to be this, and it's 25% of the book. Like I never figured that out. Like I'm gonna figure out it's 25% of the book. Yeah. If you put it in your skill, then you don't have to keep giving it to him. You give it to him once and you're done. There, hand it off, let him take over. And so now he's got it in this. So in here, he's got it in the skill. He knows Act 1 is 25% of the book. Act 2, 25 to 50% of the book. This is where they're building something together alongside. Forced proximity becomes routine or whatever it's going to be. So this is the contemporary. The dark romance is going to be different. So the dark romance has a completely different setup and a completely different outline prompt. If you're doing a motorcycle, an MC motorcycle club, this one has a completely different way and completely different prompts and completely different things in here. Paranormal is completely different. Like they're all completely different. This is the reference files for outlining the book. And then the tropes that you use for each one of those. If you're writing a dark romance, this is what you're supposed to have in there, and you never have this. So this is all part of the reference files for this particular skill. And this skill, I think I've given it in here somewhere, but I'm not 100% that I did, because I think that one is the banned words and phrases. So that's just that. These are all of the editing passes that each one of these. So, but that's the editing. So I'm trying to think if I put that in planning. I don't believe I put it in foundations, but I did in a way because each one of these builds on the other. So going back to, yeah, so this, but I do have this for sale at my PayHip. And I believe it's $97 is what I have it for sale at. I don't believe I'm putting that in because right now the premium price in my school classroom is rather low. And I'm keeping it that way for a little while because I want to give back to the author community, and I want you guys to actually have tools to help you learn how to use Claude and not be intimidated by or any AI tool, and not be intimidated by it or think that, you know, it's what it isn't. And that's another reason why I'm doing this, you know, teaching. I want you guys to understand that there's a lot more to it, and you can absolutely make it your co-writer, your co-worker. And yeah, but absolutely. So the books itself, so going back here, you've got your character profiles. This here all created again with the skill. You've got, you know, in that all starts in here. So he's got to put in the character profiles in here. The chapter prompts generator. I can't talk. And I also have the character forge right here. So this is a skill that I created that, you know, just basically it goes and you're a character psychologist and a fiction developmental specialist, and your job is to create or build characters whose internal worlds are so fully realized that they drive the plot through their choices, avoidance, desires, and fears, not characters who passively react to events happening around them. So the character forge, I believe, is actually available for you under the premium skills add-on right here. You've got your character forge. And these are all for sale for $47 a piece in my school, not my school, my PayHip in my store. But if you want to try it out, and you're going to download it. I already have it downloaded, so doing it for me is going to be a little. But I have a little helpful video right here to show you exactly how to download your skills and to make them work for you. So I've got your series architect right here. All of these skills work together, your trope builder. And when you've built these, then you can ask Claude to put it together into your own personalized fiction planner. But I also have this built out as well in the store. So I am not telling you that you should go and buy my stuff. Build your own. I've given you the tools to build your own. So I don't want, you know, I'm not doing this because I'm trying to make a shit ton of money off, you know, anybody or anything like that. I built it because I wanted the tools for myself. And then I wanted to give back to the author community and say, okay, you know, because I see so many people struggling, trying to figure it out. And I figured it out. It works for me. Now, what works for me isn't going to work for everybody. I'm not even going to say, you know, oh, I figured out the secret of life. Here you go. Doesn't work that way, because my secret of life is not your secret of life. You have your own secrets of life. You have your own path to go. You have your own things that you're looking at. And if what I have built and created can help you, then that is what I'm hopeful. I am selling them in my store though, because I did put a lot of work into them, and they are worth quite a bit of money, especially if you end up using this and start making money selling books that are created with these. Then, you know, I mean, we live in a capitalist society, so let's just face it. That is me trying to be a capitalist, which doesn't really work very well, but here we are. But that's everything from the planner. And then I created the ghostwriter skill. And I've given you guys the skill in here to create your own ghostwriter. And he asks you some questions, and then he creates the skill for you. My ghostwriter has the progress plot, so it knows, and it goes back and forth, and it writes something. It knows what it's not supposed to write. It's got the ban list in here. It's got his craft and logic pass. This, again, these are the checklists. This is a checklist that Claude needs. He needs to know that he needs to read this before drafting. He needs to go back and needs to show something true. Now, I was wondering, and before we get too much further, because this is, you know, and then the engagement loop, the big question, the head fake, the rehook. This here, you know, this is something that makes sense to him, and it's structural, and it's basically, this is, you know, how you're going to keep your readers reading. So you gotta give them stakes, you gotta make them care, and you gotta rehook them. And then your heat calibration, and then this is gated to 4 different pen names. There's like gate, read first. This only applies when you're drafting. And again, this is Claude. He has written these for himself based on what I've told him to do. And then the results are, and I don't believe I put the heat chapters in here, but I can provide them to you. And I probably should put the heat chapters in the premium. I just didn't want to make them free in case, well, yeah, that's just a heat pass. It's not really the heat chapter. I think chapter 8 was supposed to be a heat chapter. No, it's not. I'm not talking about the vault door. There's no heat there. Oh, here it is. That's the heat chapter. And it actually isn't so bad. There's and this is Claude. Claude wrote all this. Yes, I do. Once again, the Ghostwriter is in Classroom. You're going to go in here to Premium Skills and Add-ons, so your Premium Skill Pack, and there's your Ghostwriter right here under Writing Tools. And what you want to do, these are your kind of your directions, what you get in this skill. But you're going to go right down here. I don't know why it puts it all the way at the bottom, but it's all the way at the bottom. And then you download it, and when you upload it, it will ask you a bunch of questions that gets you started so that it knows how you wanted him to behave. You may want him to behave a little bit differently. The other skill that's in here, and I'm probably going to take this out soon, is the translator skill. I'm just mentioning it because I just noticed it. This particular translator skill, I've had my beta testers who are, these are authors who have been using Scribe Shadow and spending thousands of dollars on Scribe Shadow. Some of them have switched over to using my translator skill because it actually has been saving them money because it's a once and done. They have it, they're done. And that translator skill, let's see if I find it in here somewhere. And it works. I also have a translator market analyzer, so you can analyze the market of where you may be like, is it worth the time to spend all that time translating my book into German if German readers don't care about this particular genre? So that's part of that too. Where the heck did the translator skill go? It's in here somewhere.
I think you scrolled past it. I think it's up under author translator. There it is. Above tip assistant.
Oh my God. I'm blind as a bat. Tip assistant author translator. Yes. And I also have Russian in here. We have French, we have German, we have European Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, American and British English, because there's different spellings and whatnot. But we've got the reference guides here for each one of the languages, each one of these language guides. And actually, with the help of my beta testers, we have tweaked the languages to be even more informal and to write in more of a the way that the readers of some of those language actually would read. So I've had some of my beta testers they actually speak French, or they speak German, or they speak Russian. So they've gone through and they've kind of looked it over. The Russian is the most difficult, but the most fun, in my opinion, because I don't see that everywhere. So I thought that was the most fun. But yeah, so this is currently available for premium members. You get the translator, the market analyzer to just, help you see whether or not it's worth translating your document or whatever, but it's in here right now. And I am selling that actually for like $200 in my store, and I'll probably be pulling it out of here once I've finished all of the beta testing. It's the reason that I put it in here is it's still in testing mode, and I don't want to I figure you guys can test it too. And you'll let me know immediately if anything breaks in it, and you'll tell me. Yeah, I don't know if Russian is in high demand or not. It would just seem like a fun language to me. I'm also attempting to do Chinese. Yeah. And I may even try to get into because it's different. And when I looked at Claude, Claude over here has different languages. I think where's the language? So you can choose all of these different languages in your Claude. So I don't know what these languages are. I'm assuming one of them is Chinese, one might be Korean, Japanese, you know, something different. And so I thought, wow, what the hell? Let's see if he can translate. So that's kind of, you know, and then we have, so I just thought it would be fun, you know. Somehow I turned off my mic. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure exactly how I did that. And then let's see, so this workshop library, before I finish up too much further, we still have about 20 minutes. I just wanted to point out the workshop library I had pointed out before. So this is actually a one-stop shop. So for the edit like a boss, all the checklists that you for your edit readiness, and then quality checking your worksheet and going through your plot hole checker. And so basically this prompt, okay, that's what I need to do. Just go back. This is just, are you ready to edit? Have you done all of these things? You know, yes, no, okay. Your quality check. So this is a prompt that you're actually going to, and you put your pen name and whatnot in there. Your quality check worksheet, everything in here. So this is just the edit. So I'm just letting you know that these are all in here in one place that you can go in, explore with this, double check everything. Wow. Yeah, see, so Marina has a point too. There's a lot of millions of people from the USSR, which they only speak Russian. So it actually gives them a way to be able to read. And I think the Russian that I have in the translator is more formal Russian. So we're still working on trying to get it to be a little less formal. But yeah, we have the so the different polishings. Each one of these has a prompt that you can pop right into your Claude and have him. So if you just want to go through each one of these, and then of course the human passes you and you going through your own. But that's the editing. Then you're building your team. So this here is building your beta bestie, getting it built, identifying, giving her a name, giving her a signature, and then you generate the persona. And there you go. It'll be right here, and then you can put her in your Claude, and you can generate your bestie. You can creating your own skills. This is creating your skills. What a skill is, what it isn't. Doing the instructions and different things like that. So never a stupid question, Nora. Oh no, you still need to. Okay, no. The editing the book is for making sure that it's not drifting. You know, Claude is still, he may still drift. So your voice skill is basically you're having him write the way that you want it to be written, but you still need to go through the editing. You need to verify. Have you ever heard the phrase trust but verify? Well, that's what your editing's doing. Not only that, the edit part can be used for any manuscript, not just what you've generated with AI. You can also use it on your regular manuscripts that you generated without AI. If you've done something yourself and you want to use that instead of hiring an editor, which can cost you thousands of dollars, and still use AI tools to edit your book, which, or you can have, like I had 3 editors, and 2 of them died. One of them mid editing, so I didn't even get my edits back. And then the last editor that I used, then I just was like, screw this, and I went to Pro Writing Aid and Grammarly, and I edit my own damn books after that. She left so many mistakes in there that it wasn't even funny, and I really wanted to ask for my money back, but I didn't. I was like, nope, I just lesson learned. It was a little expensive, but okay. And so now which is why, my books prior to AI probably did have lots of mistakes and whatever, but they were my mistakes, damn it. So that's the difference. But yeah, it takes time. So you use the editing system here, and that's all in there. You can build your own team right here. You can audit your own book. You know, what is, so I have a bunch of things in there. There's a bunch of different things for you. What each, so if you wanted to use something outside of Claude, setting up custom chat GBTs, how to do chat or GBTs, how to create custom gems, grok agents, and using more than one for, you know, what you can use, what might actually work, what have you used, you know, and how Notebook LM is like the author's secret freaking weapon, and it's freaking awesome. If you haven't used Notebook LM, absolutely you need to. And then I also have ads for Amazon ads for authors. You've got your keyword research notebooks, research your keywords, put your categories in there, all of this stuff. Your campaign builder, your ad performance. I'm also going to do a meta one for Facebook, and then your book marketing channel. And this part here is what I was going to be teaching with Launch Like a Boss, which starts tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And yeah, absolutely. Everything under the hood. So the premium membership, I'm just like I'm using you all as my beta testers, and I'm testing it and it's working for me. Does it work for you? If it works for you, then yay, I'll put it in the store and other people can find it and buy it. But if it doesn't work for you, but it worked for me, then obviously something's broken, I need to fix. So then we fix it. So, you know, it's basically, but on the plus side, you get all of this, you know, all of these different tools and everything else. So you've got all of the marketing strategy, and then the series review calculator. If you're interested in that, puts it in here, and you can enter in your books and put in the price of the books, and it will tell you what your calculator is and how much money you're making from your series, which is kind of fun. And this here, this is, and I meant to bring this up a lot sooner. I'm so glad that I went through that because I forgot that I put it on here. This is your style sheet. So this is one way that you can copy. You can put your paragraphs from your writing in here to get what you would never say, what you would always say, what your rhythm rules are. You know, you kind of go through this, figure out what your style is, and then you build your Claude prompt from there. So you build the prompt. This is not the pen name prompt. This is, you know, if you're just talking about how do I write like me, this is specifically how I personally write. And that's where you're going to put, this is different than the pen name skill. The pen name skill is much, as you saw, much more detailed, and you go through all of that with all of the different nuances. But the writer style, this is specifically you taking examples of your books or examples of your writing, putting it in here, your most you paragraph, 2 at least, so that he can, you know, pull that and figure out how you sound, and then what you think your voice is, and you fill all of this out, what you think yours is and what your band list is, and then you build your prompt, you copy and paste it into your Claude. I kind of got sidetracked from showing you guys how to create a skill. So you come in here, you're going to hit the plus sign, you go to create a skill. On this here, we're going to create with Claude. That is my favorite way to create a skill. If you have downloaded skill, then you upload the skill first. And then you're going to go into create with Claude afterwards. And if you already have a Claude, like if you have, let's say Kelsey. So we've got Kelsey here, and now we need to give her some reference files because we have reference files we want to put in here. You're going to go here to these 3 little dots, and you're going to edit with Claude. Don't try to edit on your own unless you're way more technically minded than I am. And I am not. I'm not technical at all. So Claude is my techie. Claude does all this stuff between Claude and Claude Code and Cowork. And this right here, this is just Claude Chat because, as you see, I just brought him up here. But I just edit with Claude. It pops up, says, help me edit this. And if I have something that I'm adding, I'll go in here. I will add whatever it is that I'm adding from. If I want to add a different skill in there because I need him to do something else and I want to make it part of that skill, then you just do it from there. But you add your file or your folder or whatever. If we're going here, we'll go to the bottom, we'll copy that to the clipboard. I'm not going to change my Kelsey Croft, but I am going to go back to my skills, which is here with your little briefcase, and then you go to your skills and you go here. We're going to create a skill, create with Claude. And I would not go write skill instructions. Let Claude create it. And then I just paste that right in there. And then I give it to him, and he's going to do his thing. And now he's creating a mystery romance skill for Abby Jane. He's probably going to ask me some pointed questions because he knows me pretty well. And he might even say something like, don't you have enough pen names? But that's just his snark coming through. And you can kind of see exactly what he's doing. So he's reading the skill creator skill before creating. And that comes with every Bare Naked Claude has a skill creator skill, because that comes standard with your Claude. So, and this is something you can do if you're paying nothing per month. Like if you have a Bare Naked Claude and you pay 0 and you wait the 5 hours every time you go to your limit and then you start over again, that will work. Your Claude can look like mine. All you got to do is put in 2 years worth of work on it. It's basically, it's not something that happens overnight. But it definitely is worth the journey. It's worth the work. It's worth having the skills in place. And in this classroom, I have given you many, many of these skills. So in Edit Like a Boss, this goes through, and this right here, I do need to put in the part about the skill building. I have all of it ready to go. I just haven't put it in here. Because what I did is I started making the videos. So these videos are just plain slideshow videos with voiceover, and that was what I done. And then I added the PDF of each one of the slides, so you get each slide, so you can look at the slides yourself and go through them. But then you also have, this is a little worksheet that goes with that particular lesson and what we're focusing on, and what you're, you can, this is your heat scene edit. So non-romantic. So then non-romance was action and tension. Romance was going to be heat. And then you put that in and you're checking that. So that's, that each one of these has that. When I was doing the ones for the skill, which is week 2 of the Edit Like a Boss, I was doing it with my avatar. So the Edit Like a Boss, you don't need to worry about what pen name is editing. It's the same. It edits every pen name. Now in your Claude, and like in my Claude, he's going through 2 plausible versions. So in my Claude, and I'm going back to my Claude, and here we are here, but when you're editing, you can tell him that you have multiple pen names and that you'd like him to edit differently in each one, and he does. And that's part of the reference files that I showed you guys earlier. So like if you're looking at the editing workflow, in the reference files, you've got your editing passes. Each one of those, is that the CPH? But it doesn't have to be, it's not per pen name, because editing is editing. So this is, this is good for any. He does have my pen names in here, so he wants to, and that is for the specific part of the editing pass, which is making sure that your voice is calibrated to what you want it to be. So he will then, in here, somewhere in the instructions in here, and I'm not sure exactly where, it tells him to go and look at the voice or that pen name skill to make sure that it matches what the pen name skill is saying. So when you're going through that editing pass of the voice audit, you actually have to have your pen name set up so that he knows what he's auditing against. Otherwise, this pass can't really use it, because he doesn't know what he's supposed to be auditing against. And so if he doesn't know that, then he just does a general voice edit, and just making sure that it's consistent, that it's calibrated, that it matches. But this is what he's looking against, what you created in your pen name skill, so it goes together. Yeah, that too. You could download the scale to your local machine and then rename it and re-upload it and do it that way. But yeah, so it's a little different here. So going back, so this again, all in here. This is the self-paced Edit Like a Boss, specifically how to use it. Each one of these, and they all have their little videos, and they all have their little checklists, and they all have the PDF files of all of the slides, and then the different interactive worksheets that you can use for each one of these. You know, and I worked really hard to make sure that this was available for you guys. This here, again, build your own beta reader, build your own editor. And the editor is just a developmental editor helping you figure out your story. It's not the whole editing process type editor. Same thing with Foundations of Claude. This here, I got a little crazy with the silly cats and the dogs. But when you're building your book foundation, when you're starting from scratch, this here is actually really cool because you start with your planner and you decide what you're going to put in here. You put your pen name that you're working on. You decide what trope you want to use. So you click on the drop down, grab a trope. The tropes will change. The trope Bible changes based on what you picked. So if you pick a different trope Bible, it'll change the tropes that you can choose. And then you just, you know, you click on your yeah, I've got to remove one before I can add any others. You go down, this is what you've chosen. You can add custom tropes if you want to. You can put your hook in here, but this builds. So each one of these, you generate your premise trope. And then the next one is your premise. Follow so watch the little video, follow it. Each one of these builds on the next. So this is the next part. So now we've got your premise and your codex builder. So this already has everything. There was no, actually, we didn't lock anything in, but the information that you put here is going to follow through and go into here. And then you can go and using that, you can then put in your codex prompts. And so what I do here with my fiction planner right here, this whole thing, this whole entire skill is right here. This part 4. It's part by part by part, but is this entirely. So you guys already have it. I hope that makes sense. It's just follow the little videos, follow the builder. It builds, so it goes on from one, and then it goes to the next one. And once you've got your premise and your codex in there, and you put those in there, now you build your outline. So now the outline tool is going to go into effect. It will put everything in there. It will generate your outline prompt for your outline, and then it will check your plot holes. I love this stupid little, I was late. It was 2 a.m. when I did this, okay? Do not judge me. Because I just started going a little crazy with some of these slides at the end of doing this. But when you get to the end of this, you've got your plot hole check. It's going to check and make sure that everything makes sense, that it's contingent in the way it's supposed to. Everything goes the way it's supposed to. So you've got your plot hole check. And once that's done, then it will generate every single chapter prompt for you. And then you take those chapter prompts, and that's how you write your book. So specifically, and it's all right here. And if you want to know how to set up your Claude projects, notice I was a little more professional with the Claude projects instructions. That's all in here too. You've got your workbook. So I've got a little workbook in here for you. And your Explorer here. So again, setting everything up. This walks you through all of it right here. So you've got your Claude projects, how to build it, what your instructions are. This is an actual instruction builder for your pen name, what your premise is. You plug that in there. And then you're plugging in your project instructions for the story that you're building. So this is just giving you the workaround. This is, I do things a little differently now because I have Claude, build it differently, but this is basically the next step. You're building your instructions. And if you have a single book project, then this is your single book setup just for the single book. If you've got a series that you're planning and you want to put your entire series in a project, this is your series planner. And I've got your character tracker right here. So you can track your characters. You can add more characters, put them in. What role is this? Who are your characters? You can search for them. And then you can put it into Claude. You can make it in a JSON or whatever. It's all right here. created to kind of help you. There's your series planner, your rules, your character trackers. You add characters, and you can use your character tracker, your timeline, what happened when, what storylines and threads are you trying to get through the series, and this is your generated series Bible. So there's all of these tools where you can actually, go in and just so much in here. And I'm actually I'm updating, but so there's just quite a bit in here. But the reason why, because I've been asked this before, Pen Name Launcher is the self-paced class that is actually part 2 of your Foundations of Claude. So the skill is actually your Pen Name Launcher, same thing. Oh shoot, we're over our time. So if you guys feel free to reach out for me. If you have any questions about anything, you can always reach out. I am available. If you are a premium member, I'm just going to throw this out there because I would be remiss if I didn't. I do one-on-one coaching. I don't take very many clients, but I do it. If you want to be coached by me, or if you just want a discovery call, those are a little more accessible for people. The place to book that would be on PayHip. I have a discovery call in there. Will take about 45 minutes to an hour. I will look over your Claude and give you advice and diagnose what might be wrong, why you might be having issues or whatever, so we can do a one-on-one call. For that, the price has gone up. It's now $75. It used to be $50. But we're taking 45 minutes to an hour to really diagnose and deal, figure out what's going on. If you want to do one-on-one coaching with me, then you're absolutely welcome to do that. But I am not taking on any new clients until September because my summer's kind of booked. But so I'm not trying to get anybody to sign up today. I'm telling you right now, you can't sign up till September, even if you want to. Sorry. So just letting you know, but that is available. So if you did want to, pick my brain about anything, I will do discovery calls because those are just like about an hour and I don't have to, I can kind of fit those in between other things that I'm doing. But if you want to work one-on-one with me, I really will niche down. I will develop tools specifically for you. I will go in to using, and I'll use my Claude to do it. I will develop tools specifically for you, whatever you need. Whatever's going to work better for you, I will make it work for you. I'll make things specifically for you because, and we'll work together in figuring out how to make that work. And I work, primarily my one-on-one clients have been mostly authors who are new to the game and they aren't established authors. For more established authors, I have a cohort, but that's kind of exclusive. I don't, that's not something that I'm really offering out to anybody. I probably shouldn't have mentioned it. Anyway, but that's where I get all my beta testers. So, they are authors who are, have been doing this game for a long time. They've been self-published. They've been doing what they do for a really long time. And so that's where I'm like trying to really break my tools, if you will. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. This has been hopefully informative for you. I hope that you have learned a lot and are able to take this back and actually use the everything that we talked about and go in and build your own pen name. My Claude is now in the process of what I want to do, and I'll actually take this that we developed and I will copy and paste that into the replay so you guys can play with that particular pen name yourself if you want to and have some fun with it. So anyway, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of the community at Invisible Pen. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you very much. Yay.